Hello, everyone. It is Saturday evening, the 9th of November, and you're probably wondering what in the world I'm doing on here. Well, I believe the chat's on, and as you can see, I'm saying that this is urgent, that the IC is moving on Trump and us Americans this week. Below in the description box, you will find two links, both from Headlines with a Voice. And they are the subject of what we are going to talk about today or this evening. Again, as usual, may I ask as you come in, hello, but may I ask if the sound is okay? We're going to be here for a while tonight, I'm pretty sure. So if you'd give me a thumbs up that the sound is okay, that I'm not over-modulating, but that it's loud enough that you can hear, I will sure appreciate it. Sounds great, Jana Davila. Good, love and light. All right, Vicksburg, Mississippi, that's nice. Okay, so we're looking good. Okay. My setup tonight is not the normal situation that I like to have. I kind of threw it together. You'll recognize the background from some of the other things I did, but I happen to be wearing a brown shirt tonight, and of course the background's a little brown, so I apologize for that. There'll also probably be a little halo on me because I didn't have a chance to really adjust the color. I was in a hurry, and you'll understand why as we move along here. What I am concerned about today, and it is something to be concerned about. If you've been listening to Headlines with a Voice at all, you'll know what this is. And I'm going to go right to the chat here and just make sure that we're working there. It looks like we are. Okay. First up, I looked at some of the comments on my video about the situation in Mexico and some of the other things that are happening. One of the things I put up today was that, if you remember, was that Bill Still did a story on the Mexico massacre of the LeBarons and the Langford women, and explained exactly what I said the situation was. And I got some people saying, oh, Roy, he's always saying I, and that kind of thing. Look, for those of you who think that I got all my ideas from Q, I was around a lot earlier than Q was. I was on the internet, I was on YouTube, talking about these things since 2009, and publicly on news talk shows, television shows, etc. I've been talking about these things since the 80s. So you're going to have to back off a little bit there. I'm not really all that concerned about, defending my reputation because it's kind of useless anyway. But no, I didn't start with Q. I don't get my ideas from Q. Sorry. No, I've been doing this for a very, very long time. Secondly, I keep seeing people say that those women in the Langfords and the LeBarons were linked to the Nixon group, Rainier group. No, they were not. They were duped, just like a lot of other people, okay? But they never became members of the group. The New York Post did that wrong. All of the Twitterites that have been latching onto that story, I don't care who they are, they're wrong. I know those people. I've been down there. I know what they're about, and they're not going to bow, like I said, to anybody like Rainier or those women. They're certainly not going to get, branded and tattooed. That's just crazy. And yes, I'm very upset with the lights right in my eyes, so I'm sorry I'm blinking so much. It's crazy. Okay, I'm going to come to their defense again. And you people that think that there was a connection between Nixon and Rainier and those women, you're wrong. They apparently were approached by those people at some point in time, but they're not going to bow down to them. They may have, I understand there was some nanny situation that may have occurred, and that may have been brought up. But once they found out what the real situation was, because there weren't any kids in Nixon to nanny, they wouldn't have stuck around. So, yeah, they may have been thinking, this is a way for our daughters to get out of here, but they were not handing their daughters over to Nixon and Rainier. I'm sorry. And anybody who says that is a liar, a defamer, and is just plain evil, okay? They're trying to twist it so that we're not concerned about those families, those women, those children, and the situation that's developing, that has developed in Mexico because of that same type of excuse, okay? So, yes, I'm a little ticked off about it as usual, but I just want to get that out of the way so everybody knows where I stand. The next person I say is that I see that I see, okay, that says that those women were connected to Rainier and Nixon you're going to get booted, okay? And I'm gonna, all of you people with wrenches can take care of that for me. And I keep forgetting to bring up Kay Smalls. Kay Smalls is one of my moderators as well. So there's Headlines with a Voice. I notice she's here. Hello, Nancy. There's Roosevelt Media. If he comes on, I don't know. Like I say, I'm doing this on the spur of the moment. There's like I said, let's see, who have I missed here? Anyway, all of my moderators, there are 4 of them. I always leave out one. Okay, you might hear some noise in the background because I didn't plan this. You might hear some children. You might hear some other things going on. Pardon me for that, but this is really, really important. So what happened today, I've been warning about this for a long time, that the IC is going to ramp up things. The CIA, I mentioned today because of what Headlines with the Voice said, that the CIA is actually still being run by Brennan. Somebody said, well, no, it's Gina Haspel. Okay, well, Gina Haspel is Brennan's little lackey, and she's in there because of him. So, you can run it any way you want. You can make any excuse you want, but Brennan's still calling the shots, okay? At least in the part of the CIA that matters, all right? And Haspel's apparently doing his bidding, and that would be the way I've looked at this for a long time. But when I saw these 2 stories today with Headlines with a Voice, of course, I covered the first one about Brennan still being in control, and especially with this thing with the YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, etc., all the social media, not to mention the mainstream media, who are trying to control the information on the whistleblower. They're trying to say it's illegal to mention the whistleblower, and it's not. They've changed their terms of service to do this. It's obviously they're being run by Adam Schiff, through Adam Schiff, by the intelligence community, primarily the CIA. Okay, it's obvious. That shows you how much power it is, and I called it out. I said, look, this is to show Trump who's got the power. Okay, that we're in a really bad place right now. We're in a really bad place. So I put that up, and then no sooner had I done that, I had a night planned out tonight, a very special night, but because of this, I just had to put it on hold. I just went ahead and said, I can't do it tonight. I've got to get out here and bring this up. Not that anybody listens to me, but that I don't want to be silent when I see this locomotive coming down the tracks and it's just about ready to run us over. So it's a big thing that broke tonight that I saw, and it may have been known by a lot of you people, but as I said, I've been out trying to do things today, and I had a very special night set apart tonight. And then I saw this thing from Headlines with a Voice. I ought to learn not to check my Twitter and my YouTube. You know how it is. You just got to know what's going on. So before I actually got in the car to drive off, I just checked one last time, and there's this story from Nancy Morgan-Hart about the psychiatrists and the psychologists and all of these people, the neuropsychologists, etc., who are set to testify this next week to the House on Trump's inability to be president of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Stalin. This is exactly what they did in Stalin's Russia. This proves to you, as Nancy Morgan-Hart said on Headlines with a Voice, that the Bolsheviks are in charge here. That's a fact. That's what's going on. They've had 3 decades minimum to infiltrate all of our institutions, our government institutions, our Department of Defense, our Department of Justice, our Department of State, our entire intelligence community, and they're still bringing these people up through the educational institutions which they first got into, and all of this was part of the Marxist-Leninist plan. If you remember the Weatherman Underground and Bill Ayers, they talked about this. Obama was very, very involved in all of that. And we're seeing it come to fruition. We have been asleep. We have refused to realize that we had a situation in the United States where we were being run by the leftist Marxists who were pushing us towards this. And again, I'm going to mention this. I saw these things written in documents by what you would know as the Illuminati. Okay, I'm not going to go any further than that. But they were written in the 1800s, one of which is Albert Pike's books. Okay, one of them, and a couple of letters that he is given the responsibility for, okay? Regardless, I've seen this whole plan written out in other places, revealed by people who knew it, and then thought better of it, and then wrote about it and said, this is what's coming. You better look out. Very similar to what Aldous Huxley and all of them did with Brave New World and Fahrenheit 451 and all of those. Those are the types of things that I've looked at. And knew that this was coming, that the secret societies would be run by the banks, and they'd have these secret, intelligence community, okay, that would do all this and actually try to take over the governments, and in fact, they have done so. So, with that background, what happened today with this situation with Nancy Morgenhard bringing this information out about the psychologists coming forward? This is Stalinist, this is Bolshevik, it was planned for a long time, and this is what's so dangerous about all of these mental things, that when Trump started saying about the red flag laws, and that he wanted to make sure that people that shouldn't have weapons don't, and you use psychologists and doctors and all of that to do that, to circumvent the Constitution, you're playing with fire. Now he is a victim of that exact same procedure. And I just hope he wakes up and sees it. You cannot compromise, negotiate, or trade favors when it comes to using the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. Those are untouchable. They need to be left alone just as they're written, just as they are. And Trump thought that he could do something and make it so that mental patients can't get it. Well, now anybody, as he should be able to see, can have the medical establishment, especially the psychiatrists and psychologists. No wonder, I'm not a member of Scientology, but I've read L. Ron Hubbard's works, and I understand his disdain for psychiatry. I understand it, and Tom Cruise talked about it, and it's understandable. It's a way around normal scientific method. That's what it is. It's a lot like the theory of evolution as opposed to the second law of thermodynamics. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I've talked about it before. The science community, they all get together and they agree that these tenets of the theory of evolution is what everybody's going to work off of, and so they do it. Okay? It's not a law like the second law of thermodynamics, which is the law of entropy. That is, if you don't put outside energy into a system, it has a tendency to deteriorate. That second law of thermodynamics absolutely opposes the theory of evolution right on its surface, and they don't want to address it. Okay? That's because they agree. No matter whether their principles are faulty or not, they agree to work on those principles. It was the same thing with Egyptology, which we might talk about again. I've done it in the past, but we might talk about it again someday. How they use the Rosetta Stone, that they all agree that Egyptian from the Ptolemaic dynasty is the same one that was used, that language and those symbols are the same ones that have the same meaning, the same phonetic value and all that the first dynasty did, and that is absurd. But that's the kind of nonsense that they teach, because that's what they do. They're not going to be willing to tell us what our true history is. Okay? Well, the same thing goes here. They're going to use psychiatrists, which you can't nail anything down absolutely. They're going to use psychiatrists to go after President Trump. And as Nancy Morgenhart pointed out, they're even going to come for the rest of Trump's supporters as being mentally unstable. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't read about the Bolshevik Revolution, if you haven't gone back and seen how they did that, and then how Stalin, after he got rid of Trotsky, see what they did as far as putting people in mental institutions who didn't agree with the state, didn't agree with the leftist Marxist Lenin and Stalinist principles. That's where we are. This entire, as most of you know, this entire attack on Trump, as a lot of us have pointed out, and then Trump finally admitted it in a tweet not long ago, this is not just about a coup against the president. This is about a coup against us. And this has been going on for many years, and this is the culmination of it. And they're going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to come after Trump next week on this. And you know what? I don't know if the Republicans have the guts enough to stand up to it. I really don't know. Maybe the ones in the House do. You know, they came down and they had their pizza party, and they went to the skiff and all of that, and then had the big presser after that. And it looked real positive, but we have yet to see anything strong in the Senate. Lindsey Graham acts like he's dancing on ice half the time. So I'm very worried. I think this is going to be the next week or two. As they said, they wanted to have this thing done by Thanksgiving and then have him out of office by Christmas. They're moving down that track, and this is really dangerous. And the next step is that we're the actual end target. All of you who believe in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, I don't care if you're Christian or not, but you have good moral principles, okay? You believe in the right to self-defense and the right to free speech, etc. They're going to come after us, okay? They're going to consider us to be psychologically unfit. This is bad. This is really bad. So I had to come on tonight. Pardon me, I'm going to take a drink here. No, it's just water. I know Trump doesn't look at my tweets. At some point in time, somebody showed him a couple of my YouTube videos, and as I showed you, he wrote me a thank you letter. That was over a year ago. But I did tweet him again today, and I said, I hope you understand how serious this is. They are dead serious on pushing this war to throw you out and to come after the rest of your supporters. They're going to do it. And this is the means. And you gave a wave to say it's okay with your red flag laws. That was the thing that opened the door. So God, isn't this funny? For President Trump, I doubt if you'll see this, but look, you were willing to subject your American people to the psychologists and the medical doctors and the scientific community that wants to seize control. Remember Eisenhower said a technological elite, including, it's the mad scientists in all of the 007 movies and, Austin Powers and all of these things. It's the mad scientists that are the problem. Not that they're the ones that are really the smart ones that rule the world, but they use the people that know them, use their knowledge to take control, okay? Well, that's what's happening here. And you, President Trump, gave them the okay to go to it. And now they're using that against you. The same thing that you agreed and that Barr is doing with his pre-crime crap that you pushed him towards and the taps and all of those things, they're now saying Trump okayed it. He opened the door. He said, Lucifer, come in and join us and take care of things. And guess who the first victim's going to be? Oh, we've had a few people grabbed on the red flag thing already and the psychology thing. Nothing like what Barr has coming down the road. But now Trump becomes the first victim, and then it's going to follow up with us. He doesn't understand the principle here or something. I don't know what it is. And I got all these comments today about how smart Trump is, and it's all in the plan, and don't worry about it. Stop coming down on Trump. Stop being hard on him and all this. I got to fix my mic. Hold on a minute. All of this nonsense because, he's a good guy, and he's got it all figured out. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to follow somebody off a cliff just because you say so. Okay? I'm going to make sure that things are the way they're supposed to be as best as I can. And I'd suggest you do the same. We're in a lot of trouble this next week or two. A lot of trouble. If they get Trump, they could actually kill him now and say that they did it for the good of the country. Didn't they get away with it with Kennedy? Of course, Oswald did it then. Yeah, the American people were asleep. They didn't care. Well, right now, there's no excuse. Everybody should know what's going on, should understand it. I got to take a look at what Nancy just said here. She sent a message. Let me see what it was. We're screwed. I hate using those words for, the word that rhymes with duck and screwed and all that. Those are actually wonderful things. It's too bad they have the bad connotations. I came up with a different word for a while. Dipped. I don't know if any of you remember that. I was trying to use that instead of the other word that rhymes with duck. But it just doesn't have the impact. It just doesn't. You go out there, say, well, you're dipped, and they go, huh? So it just doesn't work. It's donkey phallus posterior penetration, okay? That's what that is. If you guys remember, I brought that up. It's been almost a year ago now. But it just doesn't have the impact, and I admit it. But I hate using the other things that are really the part of the joy of life and being so horrible. with a horrible connotation. But at any rate, so this is very serious. Trump has to, as Nancy Morgan Hart has called for, and some other people, if Trump doesn't have people that he can count on, and everybody understands how hard it is, okay? No, I don't trust General Milley, who is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I just don't. You know, everybody, a couple of people said, you know, oh, Roy, you know, we can't go after the people in Mexico. We can't fix that. You know, that's not our purview to do. You know, that's just wrong. Really? Well, how come you liked it when Milley said he was going to put Russians in body bags? And Milley's probably one of the guys that's saying, oh, Trump, you don't want to do that. We should have special operations forces down there taking those drug cartels out today. I pointed out that there was an insurrection in Mexico. The drug cartels were the front for the guerrilla war and for the takeover of the government. And with the help of China, they've been sending fentanyl and other dangerous drugs across the border. I'm not for the type of drug war stuff and drug control that's out there now. I'm not for that. I understand what Prohibition did and how bad this is when you do those types of things. But this whole thing was set up to take us down. And now there's a corrupt government. Well, we have a corrupt government too. But there's this corrupt government in Mexico. You really think they're going to do anything to stop the cartels? They let Guzman, Chapo's son, loose after they realized that, they were all being threatened. They just gave him what? Gave it back, set him free. Really? And you think that they're going to go after the cartels that took out the Langfords and the Langford women and the LeBaron women and their children? No, sorry about that banging. As I explained, and former U.S. Attorney Tolman for Utah went on Fox, and Bill Still played it today, and explained exactly what I said, that this was a hit. This was a revenge hit on the LeBarons and the Langfords for standing up against drug cartels. It's exactly what it was. No, it had nothing to do with Nixon or Rainier. And again, if anybody says that on here, Headlines with a Voice, Roosevelt Media, Liza Jean Williams, K. Smalls, toss their butts out of here, because that's defamation and it's a lie. All right. Gee, Nancy, I wish we could actually get you on here. I think this is such a serious situation that I just had to come on tonight. Like I said, I canceled all my other plans, and they were really good ones. But I can see right now that this we're at the enemy is at the wire. Most of them have come in and infiltrated us and taken out our logistics and communication. I don't know if you understand military terms, which you have interior and exterior lines of communication and logistics. And now they're on the inside of our wire, taking out our interior lines of communication and logistics. That's how serious this is. They're not just doing it on the outside, they're doing it on the inside. We don't even have the ability now to coordinate our defense. And anybody who's in the military, who has been in the military and studied these things at any level, knows exactly what I'm talking about. Trump must invoke the Insurrection Act and act somehow. He's got to use the Marines and the Marshals, as I've said before. Anybody in the DOD that he can trust. Bring some of us in on Article 2, Section 2. How long have I been saying that? Desperate times call for desperate measures. He has to think outside the box. He can't fix it with the ballots. He can't fix it with negotiations. As I've said, the left and the right, the evil and the good have separated, never to be joined again. Do you understand? Does he understand? So, ladies and gentlemen, get yourselves ready. One way or the other, this is either going to be, Barr and Durham are either going to do this along with the help of the DOD, good aspects of the DOD, because that's what it's going to take, or they're not going to do anything. And in either case, we're going to have to watch our rear ends. We're going to have to watch our sixes and our friends' sixes, because that's where we are. The Bolsheviks have taken over, and nobody. There are a few voices against them in Congress, but not many. What was it, 25, 30? in the House, something like that. And who in the Senate? Lindsey Graham, Rand Paul. Well, I appreciate Rand Paul, but now Kentucky is a Democrat governorship. So the executive orders, as I pointed out, that Trump signed had no teeth in them. He couldn't get anybody to do the work. Voter fraud still going on. Nobody's been, I mean, there have been some minor people, who voted for, dead people or, that kind of thing. But there's been no real crackdown on voter fraud. There's been no crackdown on the December 21st, 2017 executive order on the resources, the stealing of our resources, which addressed the problems at Bundy Ranch and Hammond Ranch and those things, the Uranium One, etc. Okay, and then the situation with the media, the different social platforms. Nothing's been done. So we're in trouble. It's now at the point where, I used to say I'm not sure if Trump is there to placate us, to have us be, a placebo, placate us, while all this happens that would have been happening under Clinton anyway. I sometimes wondered about that. Well, actually, it doesn't make any difference because they obviously don't like Trump, and I know that. I know it, what he stands for. But they're at the door, ladies and gentlemen. They're inside our wire. They're inside the wire. And those of you who aren't in the military, what that means is they've infiltrated us. And they're in all the dangerous places. They can blow up our logistics and communications command and control. Okay? That's where we are. And they just proved it. Nancy Morgan Hart just proved it today. And the whole thing with YouTube, Dan Bongino saying, they won't let him talk about the whistleblower, name the name, even though it's not illegal. They do. The media does what it's told because it's part of the IC. Another mistake Trump made. He always said, you're fake news, you're fake news. But he never made the connection with the CIA, Operation Mockingbird, and the NDAA, and the repeal of the Smith-Mundt Act. He never, ever did that. So they see him as weak. They see him as afraid to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Do you understand? That's why I had to come on tonight, because I think this week is going to be, this could be a very, very dangerous time. If they go in there and they say that he's not mentally capable, oh yeah, there'll be a fight to some extent between the Republicans and the Democrats. But this might be the cover. When you're going to have a coup, and it's been ongoing, you need to have a cover to help your people that are on the fence in the guys that pull the triggers. Okay, you have to have a cover so that some of them have no conscience. They'll just do what they're told. Okay, and those types of people are demons. Okay, they'll just do what they're told. They don't care about the Constitution, about law, about the Bill of Rights. Nothing. They don't. They'll just do as they're told. You've heard cops say, "I'm just doing my job," right? Well, there are those types. But then there are those who are kind of, they need a reason to act. That's called the cover. And so this is going to be the cover, and they'll say, he's got, as a matter of fact, they did this. He has control over the nuclear trigger. He shouldn't have that because he's mentally incapable. They're going to take him out, ladies and gentlemen, one way or the other. Unless he's got Secret Service protection he can trust, private security he can trust, the Marines he can trust, the U.S. Marshals he can trust, and some large aspect of the DOD. Everybody said, oh, the Marines have been activated. Have you seen Marines in battle rattle? Are they ready to be deployed? They were called to be prepared. They were told to answer a muster, a roster call. A few of them may be in there. They may have added a few people here and there. But I have not seen where Trump has actually activated Marine units. I think if he did that, if we knew about it, he couldn't keep it a secret. Okay, I think that it would be out amongst his enemies, and it would be in the news media, and it's not. So I don't think it's actually happened yet. Okay, not the actual battle rattle setup. We need it. We need it right now, but I don't know that it's happened. I don't think it has in any large degree. Okay, that's what I wanted to bring up, and I am going to spend some time on the chat tonight with you. So let me go to the, looks like the chat's moved quite a bit already. These things move down, you can't keep track of it. Okay, let's see what I've got here. So I've lost a lot of you from the start of this, and I apologize. Nancy, why don't you give, I'm going to drop down to the bottom of the chat here. You said we're screwed. Yeah, I agree. What I'd like to see is if you'd like me to bring, you have to get back to work, more bad news to report. Okay. Thank you for being there. Thank you for doing this. I think you understand the way I do. Gigi Sims, are you familiar? You've got to know who Gigi Sims is, if you're not her. I don't know that. But your work is very similar to hers. I'm sure you know who it is. Lots of laughs. Gigi Sims and I, we've communicated some on DM and Twitter, and I really appreciate her as well. She's done some fantastic work, as has other people. The Conservative Treehouse is very good. Undercover Huber has been very good, but he's been more on the legal side. He hasn't really touched the tactical, operational side as some of these others have. And of course, that's where I fall in. I've got a little legal understanding, in my area, but it's really in the tactical, strategic area that I understand, what the situation is with conflict. So, yeah, judiciary, the most dangerous domestic enemy. And Jefferson said that. And the founding fathers were worried about two things: a judiciary that would be out of control, right? And the impeachment process being used for political purposes. And both now have happened. Okay. Roy, she's ready. I'm not sure who. Okay. You mean Nancy? Waiting. Oh, okay. Or are you waiting for more information? Well, you can go ahead and put your information in here, and I'm gonna watch for her if she has something that she's gonna put in here. Okay. All right. So we're just waiting to see if she says I'm waiting on you. Yeah. Waiting on me? This is the hard thing about chat. I'm not sure I know what you mean. If you have something to say, Nancy, please feel free to go ahead and put it in, and I'll relay it. Okay, if that's what you're talking about. Oh, I was going to ask you something. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask you that if you had something special to say about the situation that we're in now. You don't have to talk about the more bad news that's coming, but just a further concern of yours about where we are right now. If you would like me to put that out, you can put it in chat. Yeah, go right ahead, and I'll repeat what you're putting in here on the chat. Okay, for those who aren't following it. Let's see what she has to say. Yes, I'm ready. Nancy, go ahead. Yeah, I'm watching for your post. And those of you who have chat, you can watch for it too. I trust this lady quite a bit. Okay. Hold on a second. I'm on a live stream?
Oh, no, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Tune in. Some bad things have happened, and we're talking about it right now. Maybe that's why you're calling up. Okay. Yeah, I'll call you back when we're done.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Nancy's probably typing, or she's had to get back to work. Yeah, headline, Nancy. Okay, I have a source that tells me that the military and naval fleets are massing big time near South America. Whoa. All right. Well, the Navy is probably a large portion of the Navy, because that's the Marines are part of the Navy. That's the Marine Expeditionary Forces and those types of things. Let's hope that that's the case. He tells me that ignorance is bliss. Yeah, your source. Yeah, I'm sure he would rather not, or he or she would rather not have to deal with this. So if they're massing in South America, maybe they're getting ready to make a move on Mexico, but who knows? Who knows exactly what's going on? When I ask him what are they up to, okay, this is Headlines with a Voice again, Nancy Morgan-Hart. She says, when I ask him what they are up to, this massing of the Navy in the South American area, Naval forces massing is month-old intel. Well, that might be true, but on the circumstances, he said ignorance is bliss. Yeah. There are different types of massing too. You can have a fleet, go to different places, but it depends on what the fleet's made of. Said I don't want to know. Oh, okay. So he told you that you don't want to know. Oh, great. Well, all I can say, Nancy, is I hope that it's to put pressure on this insurrection, this insurgency that's happened in Mexico, and that they're also prepared to support President Trump in his efforts to round up the traitors in this country and seditionists in this country before they get to him. Okay, and that's going to include congressmen, senators, judiciary, executive branch, 2 tiers down at a minimum, quite a number of people in the Department of Defense, and that's hard to keep quiet there. Like I say, I don't trust Milley. I hope, General Milley, who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, I hope Trump has been able to pull this off without going too close to him. Good night, Nancy. Thank you. I know you got to go do some other things. Everybody pay attention to Headlines with a Voice on YouTube over the next few days. She's right there. Okay, I just got to tell you. Operationally, she understands what's going on. So does Gigi Sims, if you follow her on Twitter. Dan Bongino's great, but he's more on the happenings right there in D.C. more than anything else. He doesn't really get into this other stuff, and also you could also listen to the Conservative Treehouse. That's another good one. Let me check and see what this is here. I got to check this out. Pardon me just a minute, okay, while I do this. Yeah, I'm having to operate a bunch of different things here. Okay. What? Whoa. Let me see what that is.
Okay, it's no.
Okay, Life of Uranium trial. Okay, he's just sent me some information on the Uranium-1 trials. But at this point in time, that's almost a sideshow as far as I'm concerned. Okay. No, we're not a broken arrow yet, Dupree. No, we're not. Not yet, we're not. No, what I just got is not good news. Not really. Okay, I'm going to start at the top of the chat, and we're going to go down through. Bottom line here is, again, let me repeat. They are now moving on Trump with these psychiatrists and neuropsychologists and those people that Trump is unfit, that he's a danger, that he shouldn't have control of the nuclear trigger. They're using the same attack on him that he approved Bill Barr and other people of using in association with the red flag laws on us. Now he's a victim of that same thing. The pit he dug for us, he's falling in himself. Unless he's got a way to counter this. The Navy would be a way to counter it. Maybe, in the Marine Corps. Aspects of the executive branch, the Secret Service, probably, although I haven't been real impressed in them protecting him on these threats that have been made against him. And the U.S. Marshal Service, which is a little iffy, but I think that there's a possibility there. The FBI, totally out, as I've said for a long time. CIA, totally out. Defense Intelligence Agency and the Department of Defense, probably, if somehow or another Flynn has been able to, his ideas have permeated through there at all. I sure hope so. And if there is something going on in South America, who knows? I don't know anything about that. I don't pretend to. Okay, let's see what we got here. Victoria Gabrielson, you're saying that I'm wrong. I hope I am. But you know what? When you hear an alarm go off, you better check and see what the hell it is. You can't just say everything's hunky-dory. The King of Kings are in control. I don't know. Springs 505. I just got to tell you, there were 60 million people killed in World War II. I'm sure we're saying Jesus is going to save us, okay? Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that's just the way it is, okay? That's just the way it is. Yeah, there's a lot of censorship. I know that there's a delay. I understand that's normal on YouTube. There is a delay from the time that the signal goes out till it comes on YouTube. I think it's actually about 20 seconds. It might be less than that, but I have noticed that. That's not abnormal, okay, just so you know. However, there could be other things happening too. Yeah, Gigi Gregory about the assassination on a cartoon or a photo, I know. It doesn't, Wallace, it doesn't matter if Trump is I'm not saying Trump's unstable. I'm saying they're going to say he is, and there are going to be people that go along with it, especially there are people. Pence is defending Trump right now, but who's to say what's going to happen next week? I don't know. I have always had a problem with Pence, and not on all the stuff that most people talk about. I saw what he said at Davos and Bilderberg about Trump's administration supporting that when I know that's not true. And then China, of course, went there and said, "We don't care what Trump does. We'll get Trump back in the New World Order, or we'll take him out and we'll get America back in." Okay, I just don't know on Pence. I just don't know. Okay. And I can't disagree. I wouldn't say oil field trash. I wouldn't say that Trump hasn't done anything for the U.S. His mantra, America first, hasn't really been true as far as when you look at what he's done for Israel and Saudi Arabia. Yes, I understand. It's been one of my complaints. Yeah, the UN, China, a lot of places would love us to have a civil war. Of course. As a matter of fact, just so you know, some of these writings from the 1800s talk about a race war starting that they would foment a race war and other division wars, and that China, the heathen Chinese, would attack the West Coast, like they haven't already done that because they have ports and things there, which Nancy Morgan Hart pointed out here about a month ago that Trump has made it so they can't have those anymore. It's going to, I forget who right now. But they're already here. I don't think they'd have to send an army. They've already got the people here that they need to do it, okay? But that was another part of it there, and that it would require, the writing said Britain to come in and help to keep the peace, but really what they're talking about is the UN. Okay, so you're right about that. Yeah, we've got a problem there. I believe, Wanda Alexander, I'm not saying that Trump isn't brave. I'm saying that he's not brave enough. He's not courageous enough. Because he's put all of his supporters at risk. How many people got bike locked? Accused of crimes they didn't commit. FBI raids on their homes, when normally those are served with two agents with a warrant. And he hasn't been there. Look at Julian Assange. First he said that WikiLeaks, isn't that WikiLeaks great? And then when they came after Assange, I don't know who WikiLeaks is, or Assange, I don't know anything about them. What? Even Alex Jones said, gee, if he's going to throw Julian Assange under the bus, who actually helped to uncover the situation of Hillary's crimes and actually helped Trump to get elected, what's he going to do to me? That's Alex Jones talking. I feel like my ass is hanging out here. I've said a long time, the loyalty needs to go both ways, and we really haven't seen it. The red flag laws were one of the first things. Not going after Clinton, and the red flag laws. Whoa. And then saying that he was going to use the social media platforms to gather information for surveillance. And now look what's happened. They're coming after him using his own words about how he was going to do this. He dug a pit and he's falling in it himself. Do you understand what we're seeing here? I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying he didn't think it through if he opened up these doors. Do you say it's a trap? He's so smart that he set a trap? Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of people have paid the price for this little plan. And in any battle, you're going to have casualties. I understand that, okay? I'm very familiar with it. But I don't feel that he's been, well, let's just say that he better do something now, and he better do it quickly. He better use force. It better come down hard. And we don't have much time. Like I said, you'll hear a little baby crying in the background here. Probably getting its bottom changed. She doesn't like that too much. Oh, okay, Walter Baltzley, I know that. He said he wouldn't announce his movements. Make it kind of difficult to anticipate what is going to happen. Let me tell you something. The only people that don't know about Trump's movements are us. Don't kid yourself. You really think that the IC that's had all this surveillance information put into place, they even get people in the NSC to leak about what Trump is up to? Who could he possibly talk to on the side if he has not made these plans prior to running for president? And even then they had him surveilled. He'd have to have been smart about it then. And think about this. If it took Admiral Rogers to have to come to him at Trump Tower before or right after he was president-elect, that Admiral Rogers had to come and tell him he was being surveilled, and then he moved his whole operation to the other place. You really honestly think he had all these plans figured out before then? No! He's trying to pretend like he's Sun Tzu. Maybe he learned his lesson in the first year and a half. But when he put Dylan or whatever the hell his name, Umad or whatever his name is, his DEA chief, I started to wonder if he even knows now. Prep, pray, stay out of the way. Absolutely right, Zara Drew. And I agree with you, Rose of Sharon Homestead. Our rights don't stop just because the government thinks so. They're the ones that are in violation of their charter to protect our rights. I understand that, but they've got all the power. They've accumulated it all to themselves. And they're telling you you don't have a right to defend yourselves against their tyranny. Edelson James, make me a mod? Really? All right, I think you talked me into it. It might take a while for it to take effect. I did it. Okay, it probably won't show up until next time I notice there's a real delay on that. Okay. Alistair Carnegie, you say trust in God and put no trust in money. I understand that. Don't trust in the arm of flesh and don't make flesh your arm. That's a curse. However, God works through men. He does. And you can think that it's always going to be some a supernatural kind of situation. If you look at history, normally not. Even when the Red Sea was parted in the Old Testament, Moses was there through which that happened. I do believe that President Trump falls in, and I talked about it the other day, that he falls in that category where he is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. Not that he's the Savior. I don't mean that, but that's a type and shadow. That's what we go through. And then, as I explained, Jesus also said that, right, about all of his followers, those who were truly his followers, that they will be maligned, the evil will be spoken of them, they would be imprisoned, a lot of them would be put to death for his name's sake. That's the type and shadow. Despised and rejected of men. Explain the Insurrection Act. It's pretty simple, really. President Trump says there's an insurrection. He basically declares that, and he can use it. He won't need the FBI and those people to go out and do the work, because they won't. He can use trusted aspects of the military along with the marshals. He probably would still use the marshals to go out and arrest at least the people in Lincoln did it to arrest Supreme Court justices. The governor of Maryland back in the Civil War, different legislators and people like that. I'm not saying that's the best thing, but we're in a worse situation today than the Civil War situation in 1861. We're in a much worse situation because they're coming after you. It's not the same type of thing. This is going to be a Balkanization. This is going to be Yugoslavia 2.0. And if you don't know about that, go look at it. You'll find out what I'm talking about. So he can invoke the Insurrection Act and use the military to go along with the marshals, as I said. That's probably how it would be. And go arrest these seditionists and these traitors. He wouldn't need to, they're going to fight him back on it. They're going to say he's a dictator and all that other stuff. Soros set that up, right? Oh, Trump's a dictator. That's why we've got to get rid of him. No, they've set up a government that it pretends to be. They don't pretend that it's a Republican form of government, but democratic. They always say it's a democracy, right? They're deep state, they're bureaucracies. That's what Soros is saying. That Trump is a dictator because he wants to stop the abuses of the American people and the abuses of the American government to the American people and the world. He wants to stop that. So Soros thinks that's, being a dictator. Well, to Soros, yeah, he would think that that's dictatorial. But to me, that's going after criminals. Big difference. And I realize what people are saying, no, you can't trust Trump. I understand. I do. That's why I say we've got to get behind him on the right things, but we got to be prepared to go through this without his help. Rose Belezia, 10,000 Marines are training at 29 Palms. So I trained at 29 Palms. I was down there with the 7th Infantry Division in Fort Ord and Presidio of Monterey and Presidio San Francisco on a huge exercise with the Marines and with the Air Force. So training things happen all the time. That doesn't mean they're training to help Trump. A lot of the military movements that you see are nothing more than training exercises. Don't think that just because there's training going on that something is in the works. It could be, I'm not saying it isn't, but just because there are 29 Palms doesn't mean anything. Yeah, I agree. Free Assange. Martial law is not necessary unless the people like Antifa, the leftist Marxist Bolsheviks, now I'm going to call them, the communists, the drug cartels, if they start attacking us in mass the way they did these poor women and children in Mexico, yeah, but you know what? We don't need the military for that. We can take care of it. The people can take care of that. The Insurrection Act doesn't require martial law in the same sense that you're thinking, okay? Arresting the seditionists and traitors in government institutions, educational institutions, even the MSM, the mainstream media, that it's a form of martial law. Yeah, that's true, but it's not quite what I'm not talking about with troops on the streets and that kind of thing. This would be a very surgical type thing, large, but it would be more towards those institutions, 2 tiers down. Okay. A rally would be a big place to take him out. Yeah, that would be in any number of ways. All right. Guys in white coats come in with, people from the FBI and the DOJ and even the DOD. Who knows? Take him off the stage in handcuffs. They could blow the place up. Who knows? I mean, there are so many different scenarios. It doesn't matter how it happens. The point right now is that it's moving in that direction, and it's moving fast. That locomotive is now, we can see the headlight, and we better get out of the way or make sure that thing stops. And trying to stop it at this point, I think, is going to be very difficult. Do they want civil war? Yeah, they do. Augie doggy. Yeah, the wall. That's true, Zavaya. The wall will keep us in as much as keep them out. I agree. I go look at my Borders Mexican drug war or insurgency, and I explain all that. Yes, very much so. I talk about having to have eyes on a barrier and that kind of thing. My feeling on it was that we needed to have a military operation on the border, which I've called for, with search teams, quick reaction teams to go after these people on both sides of the border now is what we need. And that we need to stop handing out our social net to illegal aliens, and that's what I'll call them, okay? Invaders. Unfortunately, with those things there, we can't stop it. But the social net here that they get free, that's what's got to stop. That's what draws them here. And also it's the cover for the really bad ones, the MS-13, the ISIS, the drug cartels, the Leninist, Stalinist, Marxists, all those people. Yeah, pirogue, is that how you say it? Pirogue? Yeah, we are standing in the way of the New World Order. That's why Trump was right when he finally tweeted out, I finally discovered, it took him that long, I don't know, that this coup isn't just about taking me out, it's about taking out the American people, the constitutional, conservative American people, those who believe in the Bill of Rights. Duh. Really? It took you that long to figure that out? Not you, I'm talking about Trump, right? And, of course, now that's what Nancy Morgan Hart pointed out tonight in that second clip that I've got in the description box. She said they're coming after Trump, and then it's Trump supporters. They've got to get rid of all of us. They're not kidding. They're not kidding. Yeah, I agree. Susie Q, yeah. I agree. I've been calling that they need to make some arrests. They need to hammer that down right now. But where's the IG report? By the way, how do you like my director chair? That's what I'm sitting in right now, is my director chair that I have actually used on a number of occasions. I've actually used it. Okay, let's see here. Not going to happen, Stetson Hansen. I don't know. You might be right. I don't know. Brian Ramsey, I understand what you're saying, but you haven't heard. You go listen. He says if those shrinks have a license, I doubt they do anything if they value it, and they have not seen him professionally. You don't understand what's going on. Go look at her. Go look at Headlines with a Voice. The one about they're coming for they're coming for the president right now. I forget the name of it. I'd have to go look at it. Let's see. I guess I can give you the name of it right here. It's called CIA to Move on White House Next Week. She explains that. What they're saying is that they don't need to interview him professionally because they've seen all of his rallies, they've seen all of his public statements, they've seen how he acts under pressure, they know about the inside people in the cabinet apparently that have information. You see what I'm saying? And there are way too many people that are willing to run with that. Nobody's going to challenge their license. Are you kidding? I wish. That ain't going to happen. I wish. Okay. Eric Walker, is MI, military intelligence, helping Trump? The reason they took hearings into secure facility. If you're saying, is that the reason why Schiff took the hearings into a secure facility is because MI? No. I doubt that very seriously. Is MI helping Trump? I don't know. people would say that's who Q is. But after what I saw, I don't believe. I mean, the beginnings of Q were pretty dynamic. Okay, some pretty interesting stuff was going on there, and then it changed about Thanksgiving of 2018. 2017. So I don't know. I'm not seeing that right now. There are a couple of other new things out there right now. Paul Ferber's putting out one. I mentioned it the other day. Big Dick Anon. Sorry, I know that's kind of nasty, but it looks along the same kind of lines. But I'm not saying it couldn't be. And I even talked about that there are some possibilities there, that Paul has some good information. But that just proves my point. If that stuff's on 8chan, or if it's on 4chan, or wherever, don't kid yourself. The IC already has that information. They're not surprising anybody. Okay, that's what I mean. This is kind of absurd in a lot of ways. Okay. Deplorable. I don't think they want the election, and you know that as well as I do. They don't want him. They don't want to go forward with the election. They want to stop this right now. Let's say that the election happens and he gets 4 more years. My Republican insider says that was Trump's real plan, was to kind of stabilize things his first term and then to go after these people in the second. But what I'm telling you is he hasn't got that opportunity, and he hasn't had it. That was a miscalculation on Trump's part. That's what I'm saying. No, Joliet, I don't have a timeline beyond Thanksgiving. We're just in trouble right now. With these psychologists going forward next week, this could be really, really bad. I'm not going to accuse Trump of being a Zionist shill, oil field trash, but I am a little upset that he gives Israel a lot more credence than he gives us, his supporters, and I have noticed that. Jack Kennedy, Trump needs to be launching nukes. I'm sure you mean that in parentheses, not tweets. I agree. He complains and whines too much on Twitter. He does. I don't mind the information coming out, but he needs to take action, not talk about what he's going to do. You know, I remember when I was going through training, military training, you can't sit there and tell your drill sergeant or the officer that's evaluating you, I'm going to do. No, you better say, you don't say anything. You do it. You do it. Not I'm a gonna, but you do it. And I see a problem there. I do. I agree, Michael Powell. Powder dry, eyes on the horizon, ears to the ground, situational awareness on high. Yeah, that's right, Zavaya. Our government, well, the cartels can get weapons from any place. The Chinese, if nothing else, okay, and other places. That the Fast and Furious thing was just to give them more of the same, to attack the Second Amendment, and to show the Obama administration support for the insurrection in Mexico. That's really what that was about. And I was there when all that was going on. I even brought it up in Borders. I was there in Laredo, Texas, I believe is where I was at the time, and I ran into some semis. That, you know, there's a transnational road right there, and they wanted it to go all the way to Canada. But I was there, and I talked to some of the truckers, and they said, "Yeah, we've got stuff in here. We can't even tell you what it is." I mean, they knew, but they had signed papers saying they wouldn't tell what it was, which told me what it was. So I actually saw some of those shipments, it looks like. They didn't go just through gun shops like you were led to believe. These were massive shipments. Okay. Okay. Lazarus Carroll, those of us who woke up this summer in Minnesota got cop visits to try intimidating us. That's what I mean. We've got so many of these bad folks. You stand up for the Constitution, you're considered an extremist. Where have we been? What happened? What happened? John Calypso. That's interesting. I should have known that. Interesting. I didn't know. Yeah, but that makes sense now that I think about it. Yeah, he's saying that the name of the whistleblower actually means woodwind or whistleblower. That's right. Actually, it does. You're right. Isn't that funny? That's really funny. Well, Serena, you're right. I don't disagree with you. He has been trying to fight the banks and all that stuff. I understand that, but and I'm not saying he necessarily did it wrong. I'm saying that he needed to have forces in reserve, and he needed to be able to counter their attacks, and especially now. And I don't think he prepared for that. At least it's not looking that way. Crystal Peoples, no. I think Trump knows now that he can't deal with the Dems. That was a mistake on his part to think that he could negotiate with them, because the fact is he can't. Okay, there is no bringing this back together. There is no reuniting the left and the right in the United States. It's gone. It's done. Never happen. It's gonna take something really, really nasty to fix this. And it's not going to be pretty. I'm sorry, but that's where we are. Okay. Bruceman, sometimes it's like listening to people using a Ouija board. I know. A lot of speculation, a lot of questions, trying to figure out what's going on. But that's the process of discussion, debate. If you've ever been in the military, bruise me not, and you probably haven't, but that's what staffs do. A good staff doesn't just agree with the commander and BS man. I mean, there are those that do that, but a good staff will actually have debates. They will actually war game. They will actually argue their positions, and a good commander will insist that they do so. It's disruptive, but if you don't do it, things can slip through the crack, and they still will. In a Karina, situation is terrible. If the army is not on Trump's side, we are done. Well, yeah, and when you say the army, you mean the military. I understand. Okay, and that's, yeah, that was something that he needed to lock up very early. And you remember where this whole Q thing started was, well, it started actually prior to that just a little bit, but he had that presser in the White House where he had all those military officers, and that's when he first said that there's a storm coming, and they was asked, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, you'll see. He may have some backing there, okay, but some of those people have already wavered. Mattis, McRaven, who knows who else. And why have they done so? Because they think they're going to win. They think that the side that opposes Trump is going to win, and that's not a good sign for us. Hello, New Zealand, Matt Tracy. Appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Rocky USA, it's thought about, is that her calling? She doesn't call my number. I was having her write that, talking about Nancy Morgan Hart, headlines of The Voice. I was saying, to write something in here. We don't talk on the phone. She's very private, and understandably so. Especially with all the information out there on me. I mean, the CIA, the IC, just jealous people, just problem people. There's been so much defamation out there on me. It's not even funny. Craig Sawyer's been, anyway. A lot of us have received a lot of detrimental, bad press, defamation, lies. I've been accused of not being in the military, for one. That started out very early when they were trying to discredit me when I started talking about the problems with General Petraeus and then the Boston bombing. So this started long before Q. They were trying to say, I was never in the Army then. I was never anything but a lieutenant. And then, I was a lieutenant colonel. They had to finally admit when they finally got all the information. But, you were a lackluster career. Well, you're telling me. Well, there are reasons for that. But that doesn't mean I wasn't there, that I didn't see things, that I didn't rub elbows with some pretty important folks, including those in the CFR. and I've been there at a lot of things. I learned my lessons. I went to the schools. I punched my tickets. I know what's going on. I do. But they had to attack me. Like, for instance, Lieutenant Colonel Hickman, if you all are on Twitter, if you've been listening to the news, Lieutenant Colonel Hickman came out and talked about his encounter with Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, this supposed, great military guy. The CIA operatives, the embeds, they'll go into battle because that's their ticket for going up the line. They're not fighting for the Constitution in the United States. They're fighting to have their position in the intelligence community, the deep state, secured. That's what they're there for. So at any rate, Vindman, he probably got a Purple Heart and a bunch of medals and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean he isn't a bad guy, and he is a bad guy. And Lieutenant Colonel Hickman called him out. And look, I warned Hickman too. I sent him a text and I said, or a tweet, and I said, look, CIA front groups posing as vets groups are going to attack you. You're going to be attacked by the mainstream media, even members of the military, supposedly. That's going to happen. And here it is. That's exactly what's happening to him. Same thing happened to me. It's always the same cutout. It always is. Norfolk, Virginia, they say, it's been nice listening to me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, we've already talked about the Insurrection Act. What bad things have happened? Just got here. By now, you probably know, Zavoya. I've been addressing you and others. Yeah, I agree, Victory. Washington, D.C. needs to be cleaned out. One of the things that people have suggested to Trump is that he close down the bureaucracies and moves them around the country, gets them out of that central location. Puts the EPA in, say, just as an example, Denver. Put the IRS in, I don't know. Anyway, break up those places and put them out so that they're not all there in D.C. I mean, they'd still communicate and coordinate, but it would just make it more difficult. Walter Balsley, yeah, I'm not sure. I think Trump is taking the threat seriously now. You're saying that he isn't, but it might be too late. I do believe he's holding out, as you say, for political reasons because he thinks he can solve it politically. It's beyond that now. It's beyond it, and anybody who's got a grain of sense can see it. I've already talked about my feelings on the military for Trump. I think some are, but I don't know. Florida Marquis, yeah, Marquis said so a day or two ago. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but maybe the same thing that Headlines with a Voice was talking about. Florida Marquis, by the way, is very good. He's another good one, okay, just so you know. Arms with a smile. Trump is mentally unstable to be president? No, that's not true at all. That's not true at all. What he is he's a neophyte in politics. I'll give you that. But no, he's not mentally unstable. Well, far from it. If anything, he's been too trusting. He should have been more like he was on his Apprentice show and started firing people and bringing in the right folks, not keep rehiring swamp creatures. All right, I'm just looking down the chat here. Yeah, Ahal. Yeah, our military can go and protect everybody else except us. It's all been a game. It's all been a lie. It's all been a deception. I agree. Those poor women and children in Mexico, there should have been a retaliation on that right now. Right now. Right? If there should have been a retaliation for what happened in Las Vegas. What can I say? Walter Balsley, I don't care what Mexico said. That they don't. What he says here, Mexico said they did not want our help because they are afraid of retaliation from South America. What? Oh, yeah, they'll come up with any reason they can. Mexico, at this point, shouldn't have a say in the matter. I'm sorry. And if it was any other country in the world, they wouldn't have a say in the matter. We would have already invaded. We would, or at least had surgical strikes already. I understand there's some touchy things here about the diplomacy with Mexico, but it was lost a long time ago. Nancy Pelosi and Obrador are friends. Nancy Pelosi and all those people are friends with the drug cartels in one way or another, and that's through the political people. They wouldn't meet with somebody like Guzman, okay? No, they're not going to do that. But the political heads in Mexico that are controlled by the cartels, they can do that because that's camera friendly, right? You're not fooling me. You know, I remember when the Panama invasion occurred. I remember what they did to Noriega. So they're not fooling me. Yeah, Venezuela's a problem too, but you know, Venezuela isn't as much of a problem as Mexico is, okay? It just isn't. Mexico is where our vulnerability is right now in this hemisphere. Politically, Venezuela could fall to the Russians, okay, fine. But the Russians really aren't communists anymore. They're not for that. They're not socialists even. What they're concerned about is that American projection of power in places that they don't feel it should be. Robert M. Stahl, Russia is standing down. Yeah, Putin can see that we're going to destroy ourselves under the present situation, and none of this is his doing. None of it is his doing. If it's, I hate to agree with AIM, American Intelligence Media, but if anybody's really involved in this, it is the Privy Council and the British nobility, Soros, those types of folks. Yeah. At this point, Steve Lee says, armed Trump is the best we have had. If he does not want to do something, then he needs to step away. Who's going to take his place at this point? It's not going to work. Trump's either going to do the right thing and we're going to get through this, or he's going to fail and we're going to have to be on our own, which will be anyway. We'll be on our own either way. That's the way it's going. That's the way it's going to end up here, folks. Bolton hasn't failed in anything yet, Victory. Sorry. No, if anything, he's very much in a driver's seat. I'm not sure exactly where he's going with what he's doing, asking his attorneys to get this thing cleared up with the courts about whether or not he can go forward against executive privilege. But I don't trust Bolton. Never have. I don't like him. He's a warmonger. He's a problem. So don't think he's failed just because he's not in the White House. No, he's probably in a more dangerous place now for Trump than he was when he was in the White House. And then people say, well, that's what Trump does. He gets his friends close and his enemies closer. No. If you're Eisenhower, you don't bring Himmler into your war room. Okay, you don't do that. You just don't do that. They're prepared to take out the CIA cocaine running operations. You talk about the naval armada in South America? You got to take care of the problem in this country first. Okay? The internal lines of communication of our enemy in this country are what we need to go after first. Fighting even the cocaine running and stuff like that in South America isn't the problem. Not really. It's the new government in Mexico that's pretending to be a democratic government, and it's really run by the cartels, which is really just an insurrection led by the intelligence community in China. We need to take those command and control out that are right here. Okay, let's see what time it is. We've been at this for an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, Melody Dawn, I understand. Trump is not going to round up anyone. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm there. I keep calling for it, but I'm not kidding myself. Until I see somebody in bracelets, I've been calling that there needs to be a collar right now. Trump needs to hammer him. I understand. Monograph, says this isn't going to go anywhere. And what I'm afraid of is that when all is said and done, they're going to get to Trump, and then Barr is going to say, well, we've looked into it, and it was all a case of mistakes and honest mistakes, and so we're not going to do anything. It could go there, or Barr could take some action. I don't know, but right now it's a game. Who's gonna get there first? Is the impeachment and this thing with the CIA running the psychologists going to get there, or is the collaring that we're waiting for Barr and Durham to do? If there's even actually a race in those two, if they're not the same thing, cover up by Barr and Durham, while the CIA continues to go after unseating Trump and suppressing us. Suppressing the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the American people that support the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It's a real war. And I hate to be that blunt about it, that straightforward with that, but that's just where we are. And I'm sorry, but that's just the fact. It just is. Edelson James, you're buying a new gun tonight? All right. Gigi Gregory, Trump has hinted at so many things, and then it's all kind of like, it's sort of like I appreciate what James O'Keefe and Project Veritas did with this thing with ABC. I appreciate it very, very much. But it was the lead up was almost more than I don't want to minimize how important it was to show that they covered up the Epstein situation for 3 years, actually longer than that. But that's an incredibly important thing. But at the same time, we were all thinking that something big with the government was going to happen too, and in a way it did, but it never quite gets there. Do you know what I mean? Just with what happened at ABC, somebody should have been arrested at ABC. That's conspiracy. There are a number of crimes that have been committed there. I mean, it's one thing not to cover a story, but to cover it to protect the guilty, that's something else. Not cover it to protect the guilty. An overt act to assist a felon, that's a problem, even if the mainstream media does it. Yeah, Brandy, Monica, I know. Trump, our Sessions coming back. We really need that, and the people of Alabama really need that. These politicians just never go away. They make it, it's ridiculous. There should be term limits. Yeah, Steve Lee, you're right. General Milley is a provocateur. He starts stuff and is a part of the military-industrial complex. Exactly. That's why I don't trust him. I don't trust Milley. Not a bit. I could say more, but I won't. I'll refrain. Yeah, Jack Kennedy, I know. Bongino says 19 dudes with box cutters took down the Twin Towers. I know. He follows the Fox directives in a lot of things. I know he does. I know. The fight between him and Lee Stranahan is really unfortunate, but I can understand each other's positions. Bongino is not a tactician. He's not a strategist. He's not military. He's not even really. I mean, he was a cop and he was a Secret Service dude, right? But and I'm not saying his analyses are incorrect, but he is too willing to accept too many of the establishment stories. I agree with that. I do. Still like him, but yeah, Calypso John, they are preparing to delete everything that isn't in the establishment narrative. I agree. Zavoya, AOC, and Pelosi went to Guatemala, Mexican border on the recess break. Yeah. There are people that are saying that AOC is the white hat CIA implant into the. I don't know that I believe this, but to make the Democrat Party go away. I mean, there is some there. I can see why somebody would say that about AOC. If you see what I'm talking about, there are those that say that there are those who want to destroy the white. They want control of the government, but they looked at the Democratic Party and realized how bad it was. They were ruining things, and so they put AOC in there to break up the Democratic Party. I don't know. I don't think so, but it's an interesting hypothesis, to say the least. Okay. Wow, I jumped ahead there. Let's see what happened here. Yeah, Bongino is a little too swamp friendly, but you got to understand he worked there for a long time, so he probably has some loyalties and hopes that things will get fixed. I'm just busting down through here now because we're almost at an hour and a half. Yeah, Mark Howard, the fact that cops have military weapons now, too, can be a plus or a negative, and I think in most situations now it's a negative. And I know a lot of cops. They're not all good guys now, not today. Things have changed in the last 20, 30 years. Yeah, Liza Jean, a Fitbit, Stranahan does he does back up with facts on everything. He's a very good researcher. I think he took the situation with Dan Bongino a little bit too personal. Myself, I think they both did against the other, and I find that to be very, very sad. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll just mention it again because Terry Match brings it up, voter IDs and limited terms. Trump signed a deal on voter fraud. Look what just happened in Kentucky. Look at the situation in California. There's no teeth in anything he does. People say, well, there's nobody that he can depend upon. Article 2, Section 2, I'll say it again, Insurrection Act 2, okay? It's a bad way to go. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And we haven't got much time, especially with the information now that we have of what they're willing to do with this psychology thing this next week. This could be the end. I'm serious. This could be the end. Jay James, I like what you said here. What Trump failed to do was surround himself with constitutional patriots. He started to with Flynn, but then he turned his back on Flynn at the first sign of trouble. Not a good loyalty guy there on Trump's part. Can Trump really be so naive about the level of infiltration? Why are foreign troops in sleeper cells hiding in the USA? Jay James, you got a good point here. See, this is why I have a problem with Trump. I remember him being on an InfoWars with Alex Jones, and when they got done with the interview, the very first one he did, Alex Jones was, I can see that, I've been told that Trump knows more than even I do. This is Jones talking, and I was going, I don't believe that. And it's turned out that Alex Jones he wants things to get fixed so bad. I'm not finding fault with Alex like a lot of people want to do. He's been under stress for a long time. He's done a very good job with what he's had. I don't want to hear about his Stratfor and his Mossad connections and all that BS, okay? He wouldn't be going through the troubles he has if that were the case. But he was a little bit too willing to believe that Trump was really going to fix things. He still is. He'll call Trump out on occasions, but then he'll slip back into that thing where he's sure that everything's going to go forward and everything's going to get fixed. And then he's like me in that regard. He switches back and forth, but I don't think my basic tenet has ever changed like Alex's has. My basic tenet is you need to take action and now. And I've never wavered from that. You guys are, some of you are arguing with each other. I'm not sure what. Yeah, Jack Kennedy, I know. Ann Coulter and I have crossed swords on a couple of issues. If you've kept track with me, you know that I have. But she's been right to call out Trump. Okay, she's been courageous in doing that despite the difficulties that she's faced with it. Just because you support somebody doesn't mean you can't be critical of what they're doing. Okay, as a commander, if my staff didn't call me out on making a bad decision, I fired them. I want them to tell me what's going on. I don't want yes men around me. And a lot of commanders that I work for wanted yes men around them, and that's not what they got with me. Okay? They didn't get that, which caused me no end of grief, which I've talked about before. Yeah, Melinda Ann Burns, psych doctors will railroad people. Yep, they sure will. And Trump handed it over to him when he said he was going to use this mental thing as a decision on gun control. Yep, he just handed it right over to him, and now he's falling into that pit that he was digging for us. That's exactly how I view it. Lockstar 444, don't you accuse me of that. What? I lost you. Dang it. Let me see where you were here. Dang, I hate that when it jumps. You were saying, I don't understand the pressures that Trump faces daily. Are you... Here it is. Roy, you don't know what issues POTUS faces daily. You've got to be kidding me. With all of the caveats I've given him, everything I've said about... What? Where have you been? What are you talking about? I do understand. That's the point. That's why I'm upset that he hasn't taken action, because I do know what he deals with every day. I mean, not every little particular, but I'll tell you what's important. That you do not use the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to negotiate political favors with. That you don't compromise on those unalienable rights. And unfortunately, he's done that. I didn't hire him to do that, and neither did you. You don't turn your back on those things. And what you also have said, that he needed to clean out the swamp. Now, okay, everybody said, well, he's doing that through the federal bench, that the judges wouldn't go along with, finding these people and convicting them with the liberal judges that we had. True. But you see how he's been maneuvered into postponing taking action. And I wrote Paul Ferber today. And I've talked about Paul before. And I said to him on Twitter, I said, I think it was on Twitter, and I said, I don't think he can get the Fed bench fixed before this thing comes down on him. As a matter of fact, I know he can't now. It's not going to work. It's politically insoluble. Trying to solve the problems in our country now politically with negotiation and all that, impossible. The Bolsheviks have too much power. The communists have too much power. The leftist Marxists have too much power. The military-industrial complex, the deep state, the intelligence community, all have been infiltrated with leftist Marxists for 30 years minimum. Nope. Yeah, Daniel McMichael Cherrier, you've heard me talk about the mistake of Trump promoting LGBTQ. Yeah, that's a problem. Understanding it exists is one thing, but to promote it's another. Okay, and I've talked about that. It's one of the problems that he needed to repent of. Seriously. I'm not saying that they should be harmed or anything like that, but promoting it was wrong. Look what happened. It exploded with the pedophile thing that we're supposed to be fighting, and it just gave it more impetus with Salon magazine and other things. The drag queen stuff that's going on in the schools wasn't a good idea. Yeah, deplorable, I know. Yeah, Ann Coulter, yeah, she was the first to support Trump. She was asked, I remember that, who's going to win the election? He goes, Trump, and they all laughed at her and stuff. No, she wanted Trump to be what he said he was. And when he didn't fulfill that, she was disappointed, and rightly so. Not that Ann's right all the time. Like I said, she and I have crossed swords at least twice. Rhetorically, not reality, but. Bob Crawford here. I don't know what you're talking about. Wow, my chat's just jumping like crazy, so I've missed a whole bunch of stuff here. California's gone, Zavoya says. Yes, I know. Finest Planet says, thanks for coming on tonight. Thank you for being here. Finest Planet 1, I appreciate it. Genie Energy, Profane. Yeah, you're talking about Genie Energy. Yeah, and Lee Stranahan has talked about that quite a bit. Yes, I understand. The whole thing with yeah, they're in Lebanon, yeah, and northern Israel. Okay, let's see. Man, it's really jumping. I don't know, maybe because... Wow. Sorry, guys. Like I said, this is jumping around quite a bit, and I lost my place. And that happens. I wish there was a little better way to control this dropping, but it isn't. So I probably missed some important questions there. Jonah 70757 says, I'm in Missouri, and I have seen people here from Russia, Ukraine, Romania, Lithuania, and elsewhere. There are just too many folks here that are questionable. A lot of those are training things. I used to help. Those are part of treaties, part of goodwill missions and things like that. I don't think that they're going to be used, not those folks, against us. Putin just isn't into that. Okay, he's just not. He's just not. Yeah, you're right, Fitbit. Trump is concerned about being liked in ratings, yeah, instead of getting the job done in a lot of ways. I agree with that. I do. Gary says, listen, guys, get prepared with at least 5-gallon pail of powdered eggs, powdered milk, and powdered potatoes. I'd go along with that, and I'd add rolled oats, salt, anything else you can get, of course, a water filter. Razor Queen, why did Trump move his personal residence from New York to Florida? To avoid state income tax, or that his tax returns have been subpoenaed by prosecutors in there? Are you kidding me? I agree with you. It's an interesting question. Who'd want to stay in New York with that rotten place? It's the California of the East Coast. I'm surprised he didn't get out of there a long time ago, but I'm sure probably for tax reasons, probably for he also sees that there's some bad things that are going to be coming down the pike up in the Northeast and New York in particular. Florida would be a much better place for him. I think it's friendlier to him in a lot of ways. I don't blame him. I'd do the same thing. If I could move to Florida, I would. With the winter coming up here, you'd understand why I say that. I'd love to be in Florida. I think I'd almost rather, weather a hurricane than the cold, 40, 60 knot winds that we get up here in the wintertime. This is an interesting question. Nate Icken, could Trump trust the military with Article 2, Section 2? Roy, I think that would be a stab Trump in the back. Now, Article 2, Section 2, he could call up people like me, Craig Sawyer, Matt Bracken, General Flynn, General Boykin, and there are a lot of others. Okay, those are the people he could call up. Okay, that's not just for the military. This is calling up others, especially vets. Okay, that's how he would use and he could use Article 2, Section 2 to fill directorships in the bureaucracies. Okay, and the Insurrection Act would be another avenue to go through that. Okay. Yeah. Jesse, yes, BP Earthwatch. The remnants inside the military deep state could move against Trump in a last-minute coup, and it would be too late for Trump to use Article 2 or martial law. I see what you're saying. But, of course, Article 2, Section 2, I'm talking about the call-up of people, Jesse. Okay, I understand the military is a problem. I've said that for a long time. I think you know that, especially in the flag ranks. And now, as we see with Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, it's gotten down at least to the upper field grade ranks as well, and probably deeper because they've had 30 plus years to do this. We saw the lieutenant at the United States Military Academy a few years ago with the Che Guevara thing. I brought that up a few videos back in his hat, right? No, they're there. I know, and there are some problems with that, but that's why Article 2, Section 2 could be used to bring in people like me, is what I was talking about. Not just the standing DOD, okay? And yeah, that's going to be tough. Those are the types of things he should have been working on, right away, because he should have seen all of this coming, and dividing that out. And General Flynn would have been extremely helpful in figuring that out. And Flynn might be working behind the scenes. A lot of people want to associate him with Q because he said something about a digital army, but I think when Flynn was talking about the digital army, he was talking about regular Americans who were trying to get the information out. I don't think he was talking about Q myself. Okay. Michael Powell, that's interesting. See what you started, Lieutenant Colonel? Now I jumped again and I lost you. Doggone, I hate it when it does that. Anyway, he was saying thanks for coming on tonight. Well, I had to. I just had to put all of my plans aside when I saw the headlines with a voice bring up this thing with the psychologist, because I know how dangerous that is. I know exactly where that's going, and that we are in a lot of trouble. Liza Jean Williams, thank you so much. Same thing. Yeah, I had to be here to talk. Thank you. I did. I tried to get out of this in June. Remember June 16th? I was saying, good grief, I'm not making any impact. And the impact I'm making, I'm not even sure that, well, it wasn't self-doubt. It was feeling like I was spinning my wheels. Again, saying the same thing over and over again, just in slightly different circumstances, addressing particulars, but they still fell along the same genre, axis, all of those things. You can apply the same principles in all the situations, and I just felt that I was repeating myself. But at the same time, I'll tell you who got me to feel guilty about leaving. I got Gigi Sims wrote me, and Nancy Morgan Hart wrote me, and they were livid. They were saying, "This is when we need you. You can't stop now." And I'm thinking, I'm not worth it. I mean, you guys do a lot more work than I do. And they came back to me and they said, "You don't understand. We need as many voices as we can get. You can't just give up." And I had other people say that too. But it really wasn't giving up. I wanted to shift my focus. And I'd still like to. But it takes, sometimes it's like Alex, he wants more money so he can grow. Well, I'm not quite looking at it from that point of view. But at the same time, I was looking at it like I was taking people away from others who were doing a good job. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, people spending time with me, they're not watching Gigi on Twitter. They're not watching Nancy Morgan Hart. They're not listening to Stranahan or Bongino. I always put those two guys together. I still think they need to bury the axes. Or any number of other people that I could name. That was the thing. Because some people out there just have a lot of good information and a good take on it. And I felt like I was just sometimes repeating. I know I have a particular insight because of my experiences and education, training, and all of that, exposure that I've had, understanding the MSM. I mean, I used to get interviewed by the MSM. I know exactly what it's like. If you tape it, they can change what you say. They can make you answer a question you never were asked, and make it sound ludicrous or condemn you almost. I've seen all their tricks. I understand how the MSM works. Even in live broadcasts, I had to be careful. When I was doing live interviews back in the 80s and 90s, I know exactly what the problems with the MSM are. In the Army, we had media training exercises where you were told how to manipulate the media, even like controlling what's in your background, being aware of that and being able to use it to your advantage. So I know what they do. So Trump's right, He's right about how bad the media is. And then I find out, of course, that the mainstream media is in intelligence community, CIA mostly controlled. Smith-Mundt tells you that, which was repealed, right? Operation Mockingbird before that. Actually, Operation Mockingbird never went away. It just morphed. Okay. Fitbit again, I know. The loyalty on Trump is a problem. Flynn, Stone, Assange, especially Flynn and Assange. Flynn didn't lie. That, as we know now, that 302 was altered. The real question is why did Pence say he lied? Pence is the one that should be held up right now in question. Trump should just pardon Flynn, get it out of the way, bring him back in. And Assange, actually everybody. I'd like him to just go ahead and do it. But see, he's more worried about the political fallout than he is in doing what's right now. He's in a war, and it's not going to change now. There's no way. It's like I said, the ballot box isn't going to change where we're going now. He's not going to win this politically, and neither are we. It's got to go to another level at this point. The Insurrection Act is the way to do it. No. I'm not saying Russia. I'm not. Maybe you're talking to somebody else here. FDD 60 absorbed. Oh, you're talking. Jay James is talking to them. No, Russia's definitely not communist. Definitely not. No. Putin's not a communist. No. He's a dyed-in-the-wool Christian at this point, and he's far gone from that, from communism. They know how bad that is. All right. Liza Jean Williams says, in my opinion, Kushner has a great big roll of duct tape. Well, I don't like him there. Ivanka loves her dad, but I think she gives him bad advice, and he listens, and I find that to be upsetting. No, Tracy H., that's exactly what I'm saying. She says, what about Mexican government telling the cops, etc., to stand down? No, I understand that. Yeah, them handing over Guzman, when the cartels came in and, they just handed him over. No, there's a problem there. There is, and I know that. So any idea that they're going to handle this situation is ridiculous. They are infiltrated. They've had it's been an insurgency, and I talked about it in 2011. I saw this in 2011. Go watch Borders, Mexican Drug War or Insurgency. That's where I called it out. That long ago. And it's not anything that a military person couldn't see. And there's nothing wrong with the military securing our borders. That's not a violation of posse comitatus, but there are Army officers that I've heard think that it is. And it isn't. They've been brainwashed. Even the military officers have been brainwashed. Jack Kennedy, Trump often says they're attacking me, they're attacking Republicans. Not they're attacking the people, the Republic, and the Constitution. Yeah, I agree. He's too myopic there, as you say, and too egocentric. That one tweet he did finally come out, though, and say, and I brought it up when he did, that he's finally understood that the coup isn't just about trying to take him out, but taking out the American people. So he's kind of gotten there, but he is still too egocentric on the Republicans' business. Just like he is, as I say, with pointing to the MSM and saying they're fake news. He needs to take it and say they're CIA controlled. That's why we have this problem. But he won't go there. JFK files. He reneged on declassifying all of those. The Las Vegas shooting, 9/11, the FISA stuff. Trump will take 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Does great on, some economic stuff and those, but when it comes to protecting the American people, really protect them, he's been a problem, and I've been willing to call that out. Again, on the Florida thing, Razor Queen, I don't think it's the fact that Florida's corrupt. I think it's that he needed a change. He needed to get out of New York for a lot of reasons. And yeah, there are some problems in Florida, certainly Broward County, as you said, Parkland Sheriff, etc. I know what you're saying. But I think he has probably, he doesn't have the vitriol in Florida that there is in New York. Okay, I think that's the basic bottom. Plus, New York could be on a hit list. One of the things that the evil side does is it takes its own people out en masse. I don't blame you for getting out of there. I'd do it. I'd get out of there if I were him. Now it's jumping again. What happens is that they'll back up, and then when I touch it, it'll jump to the end, which I might as well do anyway because we've been going almost 2 hours now. Let's see if there's anything here that I should address just in case, and then I'm going to let you folks go. Storm Chase Mike says Mexico incident is cartel and Mormon related. Romney has been mentioned as a connection to trafficking. Yes, I understand what you're saying. And there was also what was he? He was just arrested. A Mormon in Arizona. I forget what he was. He was not a councilman, but like an assessor or something. I don't remember now. Found to be trafficking children from somewhere in Asia. Yes, there are a lot of problems. A lot of people don't understand some of these connections, but when the Franklin cover-up thing was going on back in the 90s, I was aware of some similar things, which is why Senator John DeCamp asked me to come into the investigation and assist on some things that had led him to Utah, and then I did that investigation for him and sent him the information. So I am very well aware of what's going on with the Utah connection. However, the people in Mexico, the LeBarons and the Langfords, don't think of them, they're being called Mormons, but they're really not. Okay, they left the church a long time ago. There are some others down there that may be close to the church, but they really aren't. Like I said, I know a lot about the situation. The people that moved to the colonial LeBaron did so to escape the persecutions of the Mormon Church and the state of Utah. That's the real reason why they were there. Okay, so they're really not Mormon related. Those people are not the same people you're thinking of. They're not going to help the Mormon Church in any trafficking of any kind. Okay, the little bit that they had to do with the Rainier-Nixon thing, it wasn't like the mainstream media tried to make it, the New York Post and some Thread of Tears and Twitter and some of those. No. They were duped, and then when they found out that they were duped, they backed out, okay? Like a lot of people that are smart would. Don't blame those people, and don't think that what happened to them is justified because of some connection to Nixon or Rainier, because they really didn't exist at all. Believe me, those are not the type of people that would do that. No, they didn't get tattoos. They didn't get branded, any of that stuff. Okay, no, That's what the mainstream media and some people were trying to intimate, but that's not true at all. It's not true at all. They were victims that realized it almost too late, but they were never actually part of the group. That never ever happened. Their theology wouldn't permit that. You just don't understand. Their theology wouldn't permit it. Their familial relationships just wouldn't permit it. Their philosophy, their worldview just wouldn't permit it. It just wouldn't happen. Okay, it just wouldn't. Okay. Hour and 55 minutes. I've gone through the chat, and I jumped, so I know I've probably missed some good questions. What I want to do is just recap my concerns for tonight and why I came back on. To recap on the important points. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all of those are following the CIA and Shifty Schiff idea that the whistleblower is somehow untouchable, is somehow you can't utter the name, and that they're going to censor you and turn your access to the platforms off, or at least censor you in some way if you do it. This is a power play by the IC to prove that they have the power to do it, that Trump is losing strength. Do you understand? And in fact, this will further cause him to lose strength because we're not able to talk the truth to one another. Okay? They want to restrict that. That's Bolshevism, that's leftist Marxism, that's Satanism. It's not the First Amendment. No matter what the talk is of the platform's rights, okay, this is to influence elections. They think that the Russians influenced elections by buying Facebook ads. Well, this certainly is. Okay, number one. The second, so the IC is trying to show that they are more powerful than the president. They're trying to intimidate him and us. Number one. Trump needed to act on those First Amendment problems very early on, and he didn't. He refused to. Still has not done so. Secondly, the second thing that happened was I found out tonight that these psychologists and psychiatrists are being called in by the impeachment people in the House to give testimony next week that Trump is unstable. And yes, they will use his public appearances, etc., to say that they're justified in making these diagnoses. I don't believe it is, but that's going to fly. It's going to work. And it's not going to endanger their licenses, I'm afraid. Who controls their licenses? The very bureaucracies that are trying to throw Trump out. Then they're going to turn when they get Trump done, and they're going to use those same things against us. And Trump helped to set up this whole damn thing with the red flag laws and the mental competence deal with the gun situation. He dug this pit. He's going to fall into it first, and then we're going to fall into it, unless he acts immediately to reverse this and to go after the criminals and the traitors and the seditionists. That's where we are. We're there this week, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. They weren't kidding when they said they were going to have this thing settled by Thanksgiving and him out of office by Christmas. That's going to happen if he doesn't act, and act quickly, and stop waiting on the OIG and Barr and Durham. Durham, I don't know. I really don't know about the guy, but Barr's history tells me that he's waffling. And he's not a friend of the Constitution. He doesn't like the First, Second, or Fourth Amendments, and he said so. And his pre-crime stuff proves it. So get ready. This could be a very, 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 very difficult time the next week or two. Just be ready. I would have my my self-defense tools at hand at all times if I were you. Self-defense. Okay. Don't take that out of context. So that's all I've got for you tonight. Thank you for coming, and like I said, I changed my plans when I saw the seriousness of this, and believe me, I didn't want to take away from my night tonight. So if I was willing to do that, you must understand that I see the seriousness in this. Well, who are you, Roy? Who cares about what you think? Okay, like I said, I'm not making you stay here. those of you who want to say that. Lieutenant Colonel Hickman, who out at Vindman, he's being attacked relentlessly. And if you look at how they're attacking Hickman, that's how they attack me. Interesting, isn't it? They've been doing that to me since 2009. Well, 2011, really, is when it started. Okay, I'm done for now. Again, I don't know when I'll be up again, but it will be as things progress this week. I haven't got a program. I was hoping to have a program for Nightcap either Tuesday night or Thursday, but I haven't been able to nail that down yet. I might come in with some other stuff. I don't know. Again, I'm going to reserve the Nightcaps for lighter fare, okay? Maybe touching on the political situation, just you kind of graze it. But that's not where I'm going to spend any of those nightcaps. If a nightcap comes, it's going to be a nightcap. It's going to be something that'll be lighter in scope, like we did the last time. Okay. But if it's something like this, yes, I will come on and we'll discuss it. All right. God bless you and yours. Pray, stay out of the way. Get your heart, get your mind, so that you're one with God as best you can. And have your situational awareness on high. Keep track of what's going on this week. If, in fact, these guys get in there and start making these claims, I think there are forces prepared in the government to move on it immediately. And then we're next. Just summing it up one more time. All right, everybody, thanks so much. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for putting up with me, and that you took time out of your Saturday night because you thought that this was important as well. Please spread the information, not necessarily the entire video, but just that we're at a threshold now. They've shown that they're going to do the most nasty things they can to win. Not that we didn't know that they would, but that we're at the door now. They're inside our wire. They are inside our perimeter, and they're taking us out from inside big time. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.